This is the Living in Clarity podcast. My name is Brandon Fisher. This is Coach Ratner, and we're back with a new series of episodes.
Yes, we're going to be talking about basically turning your mess into success. You know, people go through life struggling, they have a hard time. So we're going to be doing a series of at least 3 podcasts. This first one's called Stop Your Struggles, the 6 symptoms that your mess may be keeping you from success.
That's right. We've noticed, including from our own lives, that sometimes things get a little bit out of hand.
Right.
And when that happens, there's strategies to handle it.
Right. So first, the 6 symptoms that your mess may be keeping you from success. Number 1, it's a challenge to start your day and get out of bed. Number 2, you struggle with overeating or drinking. Number 3, you spend your day as a couch potato, basically watching Netflix. Number 4, you struggle with obligations and responsibilities, a dirty word. Number 5, you complain and are negative about life. And number 6, you name drop at every opportunity to make yourself feel important.
So let's get into each of these.
Yes. Number 1, it's a struggle. It's a challenge to get out of bed. What do you think, Brandon? Why the hell do you get out of bed for some people?
A lot of stuff going on, not a lot in control.
Right. And, when you're little and you put your kids to bed when they're 3 or 4 years old and they wake up in the morning, they don't like, I have to get into bed this morning. They get up and they're excited.
Mm-hmm.
They want to go play with the toy they play with before they go to bed. They're fired up to take on the day. But
it's true. I was actually thinking about that recently. Like, when am I most excited? When in my life have I been most excited? Probably when I was like a kid and I got a new Lego that I was like excited to play with in the morning.
Yeah.
So all night you're thinking about that Lego and jump out of bed to play with that new toy.
It's really funny. We took our family to Florida one time and my alarm didn't go off. It was supposed to go at 5 a.m. and I don't remember exact time. Next thing I noticed, it's like 6:45 and we had like an 8:30 flight. Mm-hmm. So, it's like 47 minutes to the airport. Forget. I guess we're late. I got within 2 minutes, everyone was dressed in the car. But it was literally like 3 or 4 minutes. There was nothing. Everything we were all packed, ready to go. And we were in the car. We made it on time. Made our flight because people had something to look forward to. They were excited. They had passion about something in life. They wanted to go to Florida. Mm-hmm. They wanted to go to the beach. So, and sometimes if we don't have a routine, if we're not in a routine, we can still, if we start a day, we don't have a job, or we don't exercise, we don't have a routine, it's hard to get out of bed and hard to get started. And this is why one of the first clues I teach people about really becoming successful in life, start your day with success. Mm-hmm. And you know what that is? Making your bed.
Starting with a morning routine.
A morning routine. Make your bed, make sure everything's put away and clean. I make sure that when sometimes my robe's on the floor, I could leave it there, I get it later or whatever, but I don't want my wife to pick it up because I am considerate of my wife. And so I said, you know what? I'm going to pick up the robe. I can do it. It takes me 3 seconds to pick up the robe and hang it up. And I do it with my shirts, make sure nothing's on the ground, make sure no one's around. I make sure that my room is neat. I don't make the bed because she gets that for me. But I start my day, make sure the kitchen's clean, make sure my bedroom is clean, and I want to start my day on the right foot.
So every day, do you have a morning routine?
I do. I have for me right now, I have a routine, and it consists of of going to the synagogue to pray, and it consists of making my kids lunch, and it consists of me learning, and it consists of me check my emails and my messages in the morning, and going through my calendar for the day, see what I have to get done for the day.
It's great. Every day you set up a calendar?
Well, I have a calendar set up every day, and because some days are crazy, some days are not. Mm-hmm. I make sure I'm prepared for the day, because once I leave the house, sometimes I don't come home. I have to make sure I have everything I need for that day.
Great,
including water and snacks and my classes I'm teaching, whatever, or my computer, or if I have the computer, I have to have the charger. If I'm going to Tel Aviv, I have to make sure I have money on my pass to get into the train,
right?
And college. So I make sure that I am prepared. And I usually do this the night before, sometimes also. Make sure that I'm prepared. And usually I go to bed easier at night, by the way. I sleep better when I know I'm prepared for the next morning.
And do you have a nighttime routine?
I do. I try to not be on. One thing I'm very good about is not being online. Mm-hmm. I usually turn my phones off. My phones.
Except when we were exploding on TikTok.
Well, that was different. That was unusual because I was up later. Yes, that's true. I was up 11. I was on TikTok at 11 o'clock at night, which is unusual. But generally, everything's off by 9:30, and then I read or learn before I go to sleep. And I always spend time with my wife. It's like for us, I'm very blessed to have 5 children. That spending time with your wife alone is really important. and I always tell my wife, my favorite time of the day right now is going to bed, which when you're like a teenager, that was not your favorite time to go to bed, or a little kid, that's the worst time is bedtime. But for me, it's because I can spend time with my wife and hopefully,
Nice.
yeah.
I was going to add that you might be struggling in life if you also not only have a challenge to get out of bed, but you also have a challenge to get into bed and to fall asleep.
Right. So yes. So that's one of the reasons why I always make sure that I'm prepared for the next day. That I go, I have my mind like this. I do this. It's funny. I struggle traveling. When I have to travel, I sometimes can't fall asleep
Because it's a new routine.
because I'm nervous about the flight and everything. Now, even when I travel, it got to be so bad when I used to travel many years ago for business that when I traveled, I didn't sleep at all at hotels.
Wow.
And until I started, and sometimes I'd have to drink like 2 scotches to go to sleep because I'd be up all night. And now I take melatonin. I don't think it's good to take it all the time, but I only do it when I'm traveling.
Right.
And it helps me sleep. But really, the challenge is getting out of bed for people because they don't have a routine. They have nothing. So you have to make yourself, if you struggle from getting out of bed in the morning, you have to make yourself a routine. I'm going to make my bed, make myself a coffee. I'm going to meditate or pray, or I'm going to go take a run in the morning. But it's very, very good to exercise in the morning. I'm a big fan of it. The rest of the day with a 3 mile run, you're going to have a good day. That is a fact of life.
Yeah.
You're going to have a great day. You start 3 mile. And I think running in the morning is one of those refreshing things you can do if you can do it. If not, obviously, you'd find the time. I always joke about when we talk about dating and marriage that, when people are dating, I don't know if any of one of our audience had this situation. You come to them, you work out with your girlfriend or boyfriend. You work out together, right? And then, you get married, having kids. Like, no one works out together. I don't say no one, but generally, most people as married couples, from my vision, I don't see them working out together. Because
that's not one of the things that keeps the marriage together, you're saying.
Well, no, it's not. I mean, it's great if you could, I guess. I mean, I do take walks with my wife, and we do walks together. So
in Colorado, a lot of couples ski together.
They do, but there's a good chance that the one's better than the other, or one wants to, or whatever. Not that you can't do it, but like I guess I'm a loner. I love skiing by myself.
Oh, I do not.
I love going to lunch by myself. I love skiing by myself. I love going to places by myself. I love showering by myself. I don't know. I kind of used to, I guess, when I was working.
That makes sense.
You like skiing with other people?
I prefer to do activities and skiing with other people.
Oh,
I love to have like a little bit of the day where I can just send it on my own, just go on my own.
no, I like it.
Yeah.
I like being by myself. Anyway, so number one is challenge out of bed. Let's go to number two of the 6 symptoms that your meth may be keeping you from success. Number 2 is struggling with overeating and drinking. You can't control your intake. It's probably because you can't control because you have other areas of your life you can't control. And so you have that internal struggle with that. Since you can't control one area of your life, why bother trying to control another area of my life, right? That's what the problem is. I can't control. It's not, people aren't overweight because they're hungry. It's because usually emotional issues or they have problems controlling that the fact they're not letting their brain trigger that they're full. It's amazing. If you eat half the amount of food you eat for a meal and stopped eating for 25 minutes, you probably wouldn't eat anymore. Because it takes time from the food to get your stomach to your brain.
Oh, there's studies that show that I think they put people in a room and they gave them a bowl of soup or some kind of substance. I don't know what it was. And they said, most people like the whole thing.
Right.
They had different contestants. Or maybe it was the same people later on and they turned the lights out and they said, eat as much as you want. And when they would turn the lights on, consistently there was still a little bit left. Not even a little bit. They ate until they were full when they didn't see it. But when you see how much is there, you want to finish everything on the plate. And that's kind of embedded in us since we're little.
Yeah, it's embedded in my brain, and thank God for my wife, that you are what you eat.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always joke about, like, if you ever gone to a restaurant and there's a plate of French fries in the middle, does anyone ever walk away from a plate of French fries?
Never.
I've never heard of that before. I'm sure some people do. I'm sure some of you have better control than I do, but never. How about sushi? Is there ever any sushi left on the plate?
No.
Not usually. Not from the people I hang out with. Not usually, right? Most of my kids. There's never any sushi. So I think what you eat is very important. So I have, I just recently turned 58, and I'm probably in some of the best shape of my life. And I think a lot of it has been my diet. I'm going to tell you what I do, and You do what you want, but I think this really helps. And I think carbs have really made people overweight because when you eat carbs, it has to do with your sugar and it makes you want to eat more, making you more. So in the morning, I don't eat any carbs. I eat a fruit. Now for about a year and a half, I'm eating a fruit and nut bowl
Wow, that's
every
great.
morning, and I make it fun. But just like when we talk about goals in life, they need to be fun. Like to be fun, I make it fun, which means after I make the fruit bowl, I add salt and I add maple syrup, pure maple syrup, which of
Wow.
course is sweet and yummy. So when I eat that bowl of fruit and nuts, it's so good. I add, pistachios, macadamias, almonds, and walnuts, and pecans. And then the fruit I always have, because I'm in Israel, so we always have dates.
Oh,
And when mango season comes, we have a lot of mangoes, and there's always apple in it, banana, and I love it every single month. I do it about 6 days a week, and because of that, I can work it until 1:30 or 2 o'clock without having lunch or anything to eat. And I eat fruit, and I'm gonna eat 7 in the morning.
wow.
7:30 in the morning. But yes, with nuts and fruits. Because now I'm not eating carbs. When I used to eat bagels in the morning, which I used to eat when I lived in Virginia and Maryland, I ate bagels in the morning, cream cheese and lox and onion. It was great. I mean, I love it. It's delicious. But you know what happened by like 10:30? I'm starving. And
Yeah.
I'm starving. And the reason, because my body is now going as taking down. I'm not a scientist. I'm not saying I am, but like I know when you carbs, you get hungrier to do it, right? So what happens at 10:30? If you go to McDonald's at 10:30 in the morning, there's a line around the building for lunch. Do you know why? Because all those people probably ate unhealthy for breakfast. We go to a salad bar restaurant, and they probably don't have a line starting until 1:30 in the afternoon. Because those people ate something healthy for breakfast, either nuts, fruit, protein, you know. And then for lunch, I basically just eat. Sometimes I eat the yeshiva that you learn in. I eat just like some salad. Like today, I just had a salad with a tiny bit of tuna fish, and I use a little bit of. Again, I want to make it good, and yummy, so I made my own salad dressing. I use a lot of salad dressing. I'm generous on that, and I used Parmesan cheese, the hard kind, hard Parmesan, pieces of that in the salad. Made so good, so good, it's so yummy. And I had a salad, and I ate not enough for dinner. You know what I do? I eat whatever I want. So today I'm making steak sandwiches with onions.
Ooh, that sounds
And
so good.
it's so good. It's so good. But I've noticed, because by the time I get to dinner, I've trained my body not to overeat. Like in the dinner, I don't overeat.
So it translates, starting with the small breakfast, translates to a healthier diet for the rest of the day.
It does. And if you're struggling in your life, you can't control areas of your life. It's the one thing you can control is what you eat. You can make a decision. I am not putting this in my mouth. And once you start put yourself on this routine of eating certain kind. I'm not saying my diet want to do it. Whatever you eat, it's not even a diet. I just eat this is how I eat on a regular basis. And I make sure that sometimes I go to prayer services in the morning and someone's going to have they're having their yard site. They're honoring their parents who have died, and say some prayers for them, and they put out some cakes, and I don't eat. I don't eat it because in our religious circles that as Jews, there's always a reason to eat. There's always an excuse to eat, and I had to put this in my mind, like, oh, it's Shabbos, oh, it's a birthday, oh, it's a holiday, oh, it's someone's doing just finished a book of learning and having a siyum. These different things. There's always an excuse to eat in life, and if you do that, you're going to be overweight, and you're going to feel miserable about yourself, and and when you can't control it, you're probably having other areas of your life you can't control, and you're probably struggling through life. And in fact, I would tend to think that people that you consider successful, I'm using for those you can't see me, I'm using
The Dr. Evil quotes.
Dr. Evil quotes from
Austin Powers.
Austin Powers. Yeah, baby. $1 million. I love it. Anyway, you're probably having other areas of life you can't control. People you find to look at and you see they're successful, chances are, I'm going to tell you a few things. They have a schedule of food they eat on a daily basis, and they probably exercise. And the exercise is probably going to be running.
Yeah.
This is my guess.
They have control over the things that they can control. Right. The way they wake up and the routines that they do there, and then what they put into their bodies.
Right. So we did number 1 as a challenge to get out of bed. These are 6 symptoms that your mess may be keeping you from success. Number 2 is struggling with overeating and drinking. Number 3, Brandon, you want to read that?
Of course. You spend your day as a couch potato watching Netflix.
Right.
Or Disney Plus or Amazon Prime. You're not getting away with any of these things.
Right, because you're making excuses of why you binge walk. It's a way of hiding your lack of passion in life. And you make an excuse, oh, it's hell, it's good for me to watch this. Oh, it's good to watch educational shows. Like, you're just making excuses because you don't want to think. That's what it is, really, it comes down to. TV makes it that you don't think. That's what it is. It thinks for you. Yeah, I'm not saying not to watch it. Listen, I'm not going to be the one to say I don't watch TV. Like, I don't watch anymore. When I see shows, they're great. I'm sure they're awesome. But I spend my time doing other things. I'm a little nuts. I'm always writing.
Yeah.
I'm writing a book now called Unloved. You might actually. This is the first I've announced it. I'm writing a book called Unloved: The 12 Strategies to Cure Low Self-Esteem. It's based on the podcast that we've done extremely well on our Living in Clarity podcast platform, and that I hope to be out hopefully sometime 6 months or so. And at the same time, I'm having my next book called Infinite Marriage: The 12 Phases to a Loving Relationship.
So exciting.
It's very exciting, and this is what I spend my time doing, I guess.
Yeah, you're a writer.
I'm a writer now. I never thought I'd be a writer. I think my high school teachers are probably like turning in their graves. I mean, like, if there was, I shouldn't assume they're dead. I should have said sorry. I shouldn't say that. But I'm not,
Right.
they're probably not alive.
And if they are alive, they're not.
Yeah.
They're impressed.
Watching shows means you don't have to use your brain. It's mindless.
Right. It is. You're outsourcing your imagination, as my friend Max used to say.
Yeah.
You're outsourcing your imagination to what somebody else came up with. We're all capable of using our brains and creating something incredible. But when you're just watching and filling your minds with something else like that, what you're doing is outsourcing your imagination and turning it off for a little bit.
And when I grew up, my family still listened to, and my sisters listened to radio shows.
Mm-hmm.
And it's actually really enjoyable. And I guess that's what podcasts are now. If you don't watch them, if you listen to us on Apple, Spotify, your brain now has to work and like put a picture of what they're talking about. So you are when you're listening to a podcast, you're actually putting your brain to work. When you're watching it, you're done. Like there's nothing to imagine. There's no imagination watching something because it's being imagined for you. Maybe we should stop videoing.
The world also still consumes video.
I know. Okay. So that's number 3.
And that's just the tip of the iceberg because most people now are watching this on TikTok.
Well, they're only watching 20 seconds of it on TikTok.
I know.
But I'm watching the full thing because they can't handle, 3 minutes of a video.
But are they watching 20 seconds and they turn off TikTok, or are they watching an hour worth of TikTok videos for 20 seconds?
That's probably why I was they're watching an hour worth of TikTok videos for 20 seconds each.
It's addicting.
It is.
They designed it incredibly well.
TikTok is an unbelievable platform, I have to admit. I mean, like,
yeah.
we got on summer of 2022, maybe?
Last summer?
Last summer, I think. And then we got to 1,000 followers. And then when Gila Oz's video took off and Ken Spiro's, and then went to 12,000. And this last one, the self-esteem video, took us to 28,000 followers. So it has built up a lot of followers. I don't know if they're going to watch anything else of us. Anyway, keep going. Number 4, you struggle with obligations and responsibility is a dirty word. Even just having to take the trash out or having to take your car in for service, you look at it as an obligation. And when you look at everything as an obligation, you think of the pain involved in that responsibility. And when you can constantly think of the pain, you're going to have a hard time taking on more responsibility.
I was talking to my mom last night.
Yeah.
And I've been in yeshiva for now 2 years. So I've been learning about Judaism for a little bit over 2 years now. And my mom was trying to understand why other parents don't support their kids while they're there. Why not everybody's at least interested in somewhat learning? And I said, it's not that attractive. And the reason is because people are not in the market for responsibility.
Right.
Who's signing up? If this is all true, if religion is something I want to take on in my life, I have limited myself in so many ways, and I've taken on so much more responsibility, and that's not what we're in the ballpark for.
Well, most people are in the ballpark to get a better job and make more money.
Right.
Because that's their goal in life.
Which includes responsibility, but the's a very physical reward there.
Very physical reward, yeah. To get a good job, but so you can buy a 3.5-bedroom house in the suburb with white picket fence, a garage, a Labrador, 1.9 kids, you can retire down to Florida, just a little white bone with a small hole as cheap as possible. Because that's our goal in life. And when you live like that, that's your life. That's what I'm trying to do, is chase a little white bone to a small hole as cheap as possible. But when you change your goggles and you clean your whiteboard off your brain, and basically, as people have told you when you came to learn yeshiva, they're going to brainwash you, and I say they're completely correct. Because you have to clean your brain out of the schmutz that was fed into you growing up in a sector where you don't have control what goes into your brain. And now, and we try to teach you, our listeners, to clean your brains, clean your whiteboards, and you choose what goes into your brain. You choose what kind of life you're going to live. You make your own decisions in life. Don't let other people make decisions for you. And and when you're struggling with obligations or responsibility, it's because you're looking at the pain involved, not the pleasure you're going to get from finishing a responsibility. So change your goggles. And if you want to take on more obligations, responsibility, think of the pleasure you'll get from performing those responsibilities. And chances are you'll take on more and you'll have a better time doing them and more enjoyable time doing them.
Because here's a story that, I don't know if it's a story, it's a commercial by Southwest that I just think embodies everything we're talking about right here into a single word. So, Southwest Airlines commercial, there's a room set with everybody on like their control system. It looks like NASA. And then something goes wrong, there's a red alert, the whole system shuts down, and they need the commander's password. The commander's in the back of the office, and they turn to him, the whole room turns to him, and they said, "What's your password?" So he says, "Okay, you need my password?" And like, yeah, please give us your password. So on the big screen is the blank, and they type in his password. "I hate my job." Fine. And everybody in the room sees his password in big letters right at the front, and they all turn to him to press like, you're a commander. Like, you've been here, you worked hard for this, and you hate your job. And then it flashes Southwest Airlines want to get away.
Wait a second. Were they making fun of themselves, Southwest Airlines?
I think they're offering an escape.
No, what was it, last winter, I think, of 2022, like, they had these shut breakdowns.
Oh,
well, this is around, they couldn't, because with Southwest works, it's not a hub and spoke system. They go from city to city to city to city. So when they break down, when there's an issue in one city, the whole system shuts down. And they couldn't get back up for weeks.
I remember that. It was a few days, but it was a lot.
They canceled tens of thousands of flights a day for a number of days.
Whoa.
And their stock took a hit, and they took a hit, and it was because,
And their CEO wanted to get away.
So they were making fun of themselves.
Interesting. I didn't think
What did you see this commercial? Recently?
No, it was definitely in 2020. So before this happened.
They could have had those issues back then anyway.
They could have, or they didn't know that they were predicting their future. But I think the point is that so many of us live our life in this escape mindset, which is really what we're describing here in all of these symptoms.
Yeah.
It's just we don't want the responsibility that has been thrust upon us and the life that we've chosen, and we got to get away.
Brandon, let's go to number 5.
Okay. Number 5 is you complain and are negative about life.
Yeah, food doesn't taste as good. Your book is not as good. Movies are not as good. A hard time dating. Really, I mean, I do sometimes talk about money occasionally, and one thing about people who are successful investors is they are positive. They have to see something good from something, right? When you're negative about life, it's hard to invest in all that. You can go bankrupt. They're going to lose it. You'll never invest,
right?
But you have to be positive in life. I mean, like, I always joke to my students in my dating classes, like, I have a guy for you. And she goes, "Really? Yeah. He doesn't love himself. Do you go out with him?" No, like, no one, like, you have to see you have to be positive in life, else no one wants to go out with you.
That's a good point.
Right?
Yeah.
But when you complain on negative life, it's because it's a symptom that we're struggling with success. You're struggling in life.
Yeah.
And everything that then looks negative.
And when you have like a good stretch in your life, I think Rabbi Yom Tov in our episode said a season of life. When you have a good season, things are positive. You walk around differently. You have a different pace. And we talked about this before in the handwriting. It shows up even in your handwriting. There's a handwriting specialist who evaluates handwriting, and he can tell what you're going through.
Does he live here?
He lives nearby.
We should have him on. You guys have him. I want an interesting interview for us interviewing the handwriting specialist.
Yeah.
And
the point is that when you're negative about life, it shows up even in things as simple as your handwriting.
Yeah.
And they always say you can tell like how the mood of a chef by the way they cook the food. Because they get a little bit more seasonings when they're happy. There's a little bit. The attitude plays a role in even the way that the chef cooks the food.
I know people who are negative in life and they won't take a job because they come below. It's below me. I would never consider folding shirts for J. Crew or Gap or something, right? It's below me. I would never do that. And the way I look at life, one of the happiest jobs I ever had in my life. I was in college. I was making $3 an hour, $3.50 an hour. I remember it was. This is back in the 80s. I was making pizzas. I had a ball. I loved it. If you put me in is J. Crew in existence still? I don't even know.
I'm not the right person to ask.
Yeah. Okay, Gap or whatever,
Sure.
or Zara. And I'm fully sure I would enjoy my job.
But wait, Coach,
Yeah.
that leads to overeating.
What?
The pizza restaurant.
It did lead to overeating because they let me have as much pizza. Yeah. Because it was college, they didn't really check. They weren't like so careful about. They didn't really care. They said eat what you want.
Yeah, and yeah.
I gained 20, 30 pounds in college because I worked.
Isn't that symptom number 2?
Well, so you know what it was? I mean, strong delivery. I started because it was free, and I never had experience of having free pizza and sodas and hamburgers and hot dogs, all whatever I wanted to eat.
For sure.
And so I always joke around. So every slice of pizza I sold, I ate a slice. Make sure it's even, right?
It's good. You balance things out.
And I bring a whole pizza home to my friends back.
Wow, I must have loved you every
They
day.
did. Oh my god.
Wow.
Not every day, pretty much. Well, I came out of college fat. I was a plump kid. Yeah, I've told in previous podcasts how I felt so bad about myself. I went out to Nike and I bought new shoes and new pants and new shirt, running clothes. And I ran literally, not I make literally to my neighbor's driveway.
Wow.
And I said, "This is going to be my game. I'm going to go to a new driveway every single day." And that turned me into a runner. And I'm not like a real runner.
Well, how much did you run last week?
14 miles last week.
14 miles in one run.
No,
Whoa. No, I thought it was in one run.
Oh no, it was over the week. But
Still really good. Still really good.
no, I'm struggling with atrial fibrillation, so I'm not pushing myself.
I was shocked. I'm still shocked. It's still out of.
No, I'm not pushing myself. In fact, I'm slowing down my distance because I'm in such a good place right now. I don't want to jinx it. I'm like, okay, 2 miles. If I can do 2 miles a day, I'm good. That's I'm trying to increase my speed a little bit, and maybe I'll do one long run a week like I did last year, where I got to like 8 miles and I got injured. And probably the more miles you put on, the more increase you have chance of injury.
It's not necessarily about the distance.
And essentially, I just want to do it, and so I'm going to do it when I know I'm going to make it sure. Just like when I used to play basketball, and I had an injury, I'm like, you know what? I'm stopping playing. Oh, you come on, play. I'm like, no, I want to play next week.
Yeah.
I started playing basketball. I quit when I was 48, but like in your 40s, you get injured. You don't want to take a chance.
I can imagine.
Not like my 20s. Anyway, let's keep going. We have done, this is the 6, stop the struggles, the 6 symptoms that your mess may be keeping you from success. Number 1, it's a challenge to get out of bed. Number 2, you struggle with overeating and drinking. Number 3, you spend your day as a couch potato watching Netflix. Number 4, you struggle with obligations, and the word responsibility is a dirty word. And number 5, you complain or are negative about life. And Brandon, number 6 is
our final one is name drop at every opportunity to make yourself feel more important.
Well, probably don't realize that is a symptom of you're struggling or low self-esteem. Also, you name drop because you want to appear higher in the eyes of somebody else.
Yeah.
You ever do that? Name drop?
I try not to, but
I try not to. I've admit it. I do all the time. It does happen because you feel, I hate it. Maybe there's a sense of being proud that I know someone famous or I know someone that runs an organization. Oh yeah, I'm friendly with them. Oh yeah, and I do it all the time.
You tell that story about Taylor Swift.
Her sweater.
The sweater.
Yeah.
It's one of your classes. I don't know.
When I'm not gonna get now.
Okay.
I when I was in the coin business, I did a lot of business with Heritage Auctions, which is down in Dallas. They're the 3rd largest auction house in the world. You don't know that because you've heard of Sotheby's, you've heard of Christie's, and there's some other ones you might have heard of, but Heritage is the 3rd largest. And when I was in the business, I did a ton of business with them. I mean, so much so I'd call them the day before I arrived, like, hey, I'm coming in. Like, okay, well, I have a limo waiting. I'm limo waiting for the airport. My name on it, and they take me up. They take me anywhere I wanted to go for dinner, and they would. I spend they stick me in a room with like $20 million worth of coins. I'm serious.
Wow.
Like there was someone there watching me, and I do a lot of business with them, and I sell them a lot of coins. There was one day. This is back when the market was really hot, like in 2007 or 8. I'm pretty sure that I did over $1 million in business between buying and selling with them in one day.
In a day.
Just literally flew in that morning, flew out that night.
Wow.
And so when people mention Heritage, I name drop. Oh yeah, I know Steve Ivey and Jim Halpern and Todd Imhoff and Gleb Rohander. Yeah, I got their numbers on my phone. I wish because now Heritage does like baseball cards and comic books and jewelry and memorabilia, all sorts of things. And I still name drop.
Did it used to only be coins?
It used to be when Steve Ivey and Jim Halpern started, it was just corn dealers in the late 1980s. And then they eventually got expanded into other areas. And by the way, their
Wow.
website is, if you're into buying at auctions, their website is unbelievable. They are such visionaries. They adopted the web before anybody else, and their software for buying and selling coins. I don't use it for other things, but for buying and selling coins is fantastic.
So now you can just do it online.
You can do it online, yes, and they don't struggle with success.
No.
I can tell you, they don't have an overeating problem. I can tell you, they don't have a child getting into bed. They do not watch Netflix. I guarantee Steve Ivey and Jim Halpern are not watching Netflix. They do not struggle with obligations, and they do take responsibility. I've heard working there is fantastic. They don't complain. They're very positive people, and they probably don't name drop me. Oh, Coach Ratter? Yeah, I used to sell them sink on $20 gold pieces all the time. They probably don't name drop me, but that's okay. I'm happy with who I am as a person. But those are the 6 symptoms that your mess may be keeping you from success.
If you can relate to 1, 2, 3, or all of these, then tune in for the rest of the series and we'll offer some very helpful tips on how to stop struggling through your life. So thank you so much for watching this episode of the Living in Clarity podcast. See you next time.
Thank you. Living in Clarity podcast.
Like, subscribe, comment, please suggest future episodes.
See you next time. Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Living in Clarity podcast.
If you enjoy what you just heard, make sure you like, subscribe, and comment with any suggestions for future episodes.
We'll see you next time.